Hello and welcome into my latest live stream. This is, what is today? Sunday, the 21st of January, 2017. And welcome. Let me make sure everybody can see and hear me okay into the chat. Just looking in the chat room here just to make sure everybody can see and hear me okay. Okay, everybody's confirming you can see and hear me okay. Wonderful. Hope everybody's doing well this weekend. It is going to be time for work again tomorrow. So why don't we have a little bit of fun and talk a little bit about computers. Now, the Azule HTPCs I've reviewed in the past. It was very important to me to make sure that the purpose of these Azule HTPCs was explained, because I saw too many other YouTube reviews of those products that didn't get what the product was for. And now it was just a matter of time before the NUC competition, the Intel NUC, the next unit of computing, that little brick PC I built about 4 or 5 years ago. Of course, Gigabyte's got the bricks, I think it is, and there's a few others. And now Azule has joined in with their version called the Inspire, and it's a completely fanless computer using, I believe, the Core i5 series of chips. This is a real, actual, full workstation computer that could do some mild gaming. We're going to talk about the specs here in just a minute, and let's just see what people are saying in the chat right now. Take a few minutes to say hello to some random folks in the chat. Let's say hello to Outback Jack and Andrew M. Stuart Bodavile, he's in Wales. Irving T says hello from France. Dave Pace, 12 Nolan, Alex Sanchez, Foxy0680, Jose Liz, Chris Smith, Rob Gurley, Martin Green, T-Rex, Cottonmouth Killa, Flyberry India, Howard Jones, Shaggy FL, Tom Schoten, and 269 others. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you will enjoy the video today. This is an interesting build. This is quite different from traditional builds in the sense that this is going to be very, very simple for anybody to put together with a screwdriver and no previous experience necessary to do this. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the specifications. I've got links to everything in the notes below the video, but just to look at, there's 3 different versions of the Azule Inspire. This just was released a few days ago. They've got an i3 version, which starts at $269.99. They've got an i5 7200U, that's the Kaby Lake chip, dual core. That's at $334.99, and then they have the i7 7500U, which is $450 about. So I was wrong when I said i5. It actually covers the gamut: i3, i5, i7, one of each one, all Kaby Lake. And I'll just read to you what it says here about the specs, because I know nothing about this. So the Inspire. I'm going to start with the i3. The Inspire i3 is a fanless bare bones device which comes with a dual core Intel Kaby Lake 7100U processor. Operating system, RAM, and storage are not included. Hence, you'll see there's a 960 EVO NVMe drive there, and we've got some RAM, some Kingston HyperX right over there. The Inspire can process up to 32 gigs of RAM. For storage, you can use an M.2 card and or a 2.5-inch solid state or hard drive. In addition, there's a micro SD card slot that'll recognize up to 256 gigs. It's equipped with the HD Graphics 620, which is built into the CPU. And the Inspire is capable of rendering many of the popular game titles and movies with 4K streaming. With the HD and display ports, you can watch 4K at 60 frames per second. The Inspire has 3 USB 3.0 ports and 1 Type-C, 1 HDMI and 1 display port, 1 serial port. I don't know why. It's a DB9 serial port, which I haven't seen on computers in years. Perhaps for point of sale type work, it's possible. A lot of the point of sale receipt printers are still serial. It's got, as I mentioned, an M.2 slot, which supports the PCIe or NVMe standard. It's got an internal SATA port and an infrared receiver. It's got an Ethernet LAN port, which is gigabit. It's dual band Wi-Fi, both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And let's take a look at some more details. What can we learn from it here? I'm just looking for weight. Here's the item weight, 1.88 pounds. It's 4.9 by 4.9 inches, so it's a perfect square, and it's 2.43 inches tall. I think that's about all there is. So before I begin, can you, are there any other questions about the device that you want me to look up before we begin? Bluetooth? No, it does. From what I can tell, it doesn't seem to have Bluetooth, but I don't know for sure until I get it fired up and we can take a look. Because usually these little Wi-Fi cards do have Bluetooth built into them. It does support Windows and it does support Linux. Okay, just looking to see if there's any other questions. I have to move this monitor a little bit because I'm always in such a hurry to get started filming that I sometimes have to make minor adjustments before I can actually, during the filming, before I can get started. I got my Fiji water today. Boy, that'd be a good sponsor to have. Gotta show Fiji some Bula spirit. All right. Yeah, the idea, the concept, of course, will be to put Windows 10 on it. To put any other version of Windows on it would just be stupid. Okay. Yes, there's a big football game going on today, the Jags versus the Patriots. Let's see. I'm just reading comments and responding for those of you that are watching this video at a later date and have no idea why I'm not looking directly at you. All right, now let's just see what's in the box. So here we've got our HyperX memory. By the way, I never heard of Azulle before they contacted me a couple of years ago. Maybe it was last year, year before, I can't remember now. And they are such a pleasure to work with. I often get contacted by companies wanting me to review their products. They have no idea who I am or what I do. And they want me to review the most bizarre stuff, and they have all these stipulations about when the review is going to be published and approvals and all this other nonsense, and I just usually don't even respond to their requests. But Azulle actually sent me the RAM and sent me this NVMe SSD, so I had everything I needed that I knew was going to be compatible to build this for you on camera. This is a review unit that's been sent around. I'm guessing everything's already been opened, although I have not opened it. But I love working with a company that listens and understands who they're sending products to. And then, of course, when we're done, all of this is going to get packed up and sent back to the folks at Azulle. So I don't know which version they sent me, if they sent me the i5, the i3, the i7. I simply don't know. You and I are going to figure this out together, live, here on the channel. If you look at the notes below the video, there are links that point to this product, both from Azulle and from Amazon. And there's a lot of detailed specification information in there. Rather than have me just go ahead and read it out loud, you guys can click on the link and you can continue to let the video play while you're doing that. Can I buy this in France? You know, I don't know. I don't know yet. That's a very good question, though. I'm based in the USA, so everything I do is from the USA. Most products, you know, the world is getting smaller in that sense. Most products that I show on my channel are available worldwide, to the best of my knowledge, with few exceptions. So I guess the problem is just whether or not there's a local distributor. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what we have in the box here. So we've got an instruction book or a quick guide. We've got an advertisement for a VPN. And here's the unit itself. If I get out of the box. Okay, yeah. There's the Inspire. Let me bring it up so you can see it closer. Now, those of you who have watched my other videos know that I've already done a build on a Intel NUC back when they first came out about 4 or 5 years ago. This, in comparison, is a bit taller than the NUC I have. However, there are NUCs that are this thick. The difference are the thicker ones generally have space for an internal 2.5-inch solid state or mechanical hard drive, as this one does, which explains the added height. On the front, you'll see we've got a USB Type-C connector here. We've got an infrared receiver above that. I have to switch my view, guys, because I'm getting a huge delay here. So it looks like, there we go. Now this is better. Okay, so that's our infrared receiver, USB Type-C, micro SD slot, regular Type A USB 3.0, and power is right here. There's plastic over the sticker. Not over the sticker, over the logo, as companies like to do. There is a warning because this is fanless and this will get warm. So there is a sticker on here. The sticker prevents the machine from cooling effectively. So you definitely want to remove this sticker before you use it. It's just there to let you know that don't panic if it gets warm. That's natural. It's what it's supposed to do. Okay, so on the back, got antennas for the Wi-Fi, 2 more USB 3 ports over here. There's our gigabit Ethernet port, HDMI and DisplayPort out, GB9 serial port. This is where power goes. And it looks like we got a little Kensington lock down there so what doesn't grow legs and walk away, as these are wont to do. The USB-C connector type is really supposed to be the end-all be-all of USB, because you can plug it in upside down or right side up. It'll always plug in the right way, and it'll be nice for everything to use the same USB Type-C like on cell phones and laptop chargers. Then you don't have to bring one charger no matter how many devices you have. If you have an electric shaver, if you have an electric toothbrush, a cell phone, a laptop, in theory you could bring one USB Type-C charger and charge all those devices with the exact same charger. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So we're slowly working our way there. Also in the box, we've got some cables. I don't know what these are for. Let's take a look. Oh, look, we have a power cable. Somebody was paying attention. And what's interesting, oh, okay, here it is. We've got some screws and cables for installing a internal SATA hard drive. We've got our antennas. We've got a remote control. Let me just bring that up a little closer so you can see it. So if you do want to use this as a media HTPC, and you don't want to have a full keyboard and mouse sitting on your lap on the couch or whatever when you watch TV, they've included this remote, which seems to be the new style. Everybody's using this. I got a new Samsung TV that does the same thing. It takes a little getting used to, but I definitely think it's better. You don't have all the channel numbers, stuff like that. And then, of course, the power brick itself. And that's it. That's all that's in the box. But I still don't know which model they sent me. I don't know if I've got the i3, the i5, the i7. I'm wondering if there's something on the box that'll tell me. Just says Intel inside. Oh, this is the i5. Okay, it's a dual core Intel KB like i5 7200U. And can do 4K at 60 frames per second streaming video. All right, good to know. Good to know. We've got our antennas there. I'm going to put that there. These cables I'm not going to use. This I will use. And this we're going to get to a bit later. So all of this can go over here, as can this remote. Okay. Now there is a quick guide, what they call a quick guide here, and I'm not going to read it because I'm a computer guy and I just should be able to figure it out. If it's anything other than what should be intuitive, I'll have to go back to the instructions. So there's 4 screws here on the bottom. This has rubber feet on the bottom, which is nice so it won't scratch up or make noise when you move it around on your counter or your desk. And let's just start by taking these 4 screws out here from the bottom. Always use a magnetized screwdriver when you are working with computers. It will save you from potentially scratching a circuit board or dropping a fan and dropping a screw into the fan slots of a power supply. It could be catastrophic results if you that you could completely avoid with a magnetized screwdriver. There's no danger in it. Okay, so those 4 screws are out. Now how does this open up? Oh, here we go. Something's happening. Something's really holding on to that. Oh, there it is. Okay, let me bring this up and you can see what we're working with here. Set this part down. So this has a tray that's for your 2.5-inch solid state or mechanical drive. Right? You can see there's holes for mounting the drive there. We're not going to be mounting a drive in here because we've got the M.2. Inside of the box itself, remember, unlike the Intel NUC, this is completely fanless, so it's going to run completely silent. We've got, everything's backwards for me, okay. This way. We've got 2 sockets for RAM here. This right here, this is the Wi-Fi card. Whether or not that's got Bluetooth, I don't know yet. This down here, this is the CR2032 battery that keeps the date and time in your BIOS settings when this is unplugged or like it is completely unplugged from the wall. It's turned off. And there's our M.2 slot right there. That easy. That's all there is to it. And of course, there's other cooling and things going on beneath this where the CPU actually is, but we don't need to dig into that because there's nothing to change or modify. Let me give a quick shout out to James Vaudry, who's contributed 25 Canadian dollars. He says, "Hey Kerry, I've learned a lot from your videos and I just wanted to give you a little back." Thank you, James. I appreciate your support. I appreciate that. I see Bill Leatherland has joined us, and Bill is is a moderator in the chat, helping to keep everything civil in there. And let's take a look at what should we do first. What do you think, guys? Let's take a vote. We're going to do RAM first or M.2 first? What do you want to see? While you're discussing that, I'll move the camera. See if I can get you a close-up view here. Ooh, a lot of people want to see M.2. All right, let's move the camera. Hold on, stay with me. Don't get seasick now. Oh, this camera rig is getting bigger and heavier and more complicated. All right, let's see. Let's bring it all the way up. And do it like this. And then lock it in position. All right, I think we're good to go. Hold on. Make sure it's kind of straight. There we go. M.2. Everybody wants to see the M.2 first. That's great. See, there's no real rhyme or reason with the order that you have to put things in. So we'll go ahead and do the M.2 drive first, which is going to go. Actually, when we put the M.2 drive in, it's going to go into this socket right here, and it's going to completely cover up the Wi-Fi card, and then it's going to screw down and secure it right here. Foxy0680 has contributed $2 to the channel. Thank you, Foxy. Thanks for your contribution. Now the screw that's going to hold the M.2 drive in is actually installed right there. And we'll just take that screw out. This is probably one of the easiest computer builds anybody could ever do. It'll only take a few minutes. If I actually just shut up and did the build, it would already be done, but then it wouldn't do you much good if you didn't understand what I was doing or why. So here's our 960 Evo. I don't know if there's an OS on this. If it's brand new, I have no idea. Kind of exciting. There we go. There's my gum drive. Looks like a stick of gum. Just a lot crunchier and kind of hard to blow bubbles with it. All right, let's see if we can put that into the slot like so until the connector can't be seen anymore. And then that's just going to sit down right like that. And then I'm going to secure that so that it won't move. A smaller screwdriver would be a little bit easier for this particular screw right here, but that's typical on M.2 drives. Actually, kind of surprised this one works at all. So I'm just going to tighten that down. Ba-boom! Installed. Done. Then we've got the RAM here. I don't know how much RAM this is. Let's see, what does it say on the side? It says it's 16 gigs. Here, I'll just show you the package. You guys can see it much, much better than I can. Just give me a minute for the autofocus on the camera to bring that in. There it is. Now we can read it. This is the memory we're using. And we're going to put that in there. Of course, you could put two of these in there for a total of 32 gigs, which would also put you into dual channel. Okay, let me just move this aside. I'm trying to figure out how to... There, okay, that's just weird to have that, whatever the heck that's supposed to be, in the way. The Go Faster sticker can go back in there. There's our memory module right there. Go faster. And that is going to go in one of these two slots. So you go, well, how do you know which slot it's supposed to go in? Let me turn this around. Well, look, if you put it in the top slot, you're never going to be able to access the one below it. So you always start with the one that's not going to block access to the next one. Even though we're only installing one, what happens when we want to install another one? So it's going to go, make sure I'm on camera. Should go like this. This is basically laptop memory, and this is upside down. I got to turn it around. So it's keyed. It's got a little slot that lines up right there. Let's see if I can show this a little better. See how that went in? Just like that. and then you just push it straight down, and it's going to be gripped on the sides here, on both sides. And that's it. Our build is finished, guys. We just built the computer. Woohoo! We're done. Well, okay, I mean, technically we have to put this cover back on. Just not sure how that cover goes on. Is it going to go on this way, or does it go on this way? I don't know. I don't know. Does it matter? Maybe. It definitely does not go on this way. That definitely doesn't work. It's got to go this way or the other way. That seems to fit in there pretty good on that side. It looks like it could go either way, to be honest. This way looks like it'll interfere less with the RAM than it would with the M.2. Let's see if we can put that in there. Oh, it looks like someone just contributed again. Let's see what we got going on here. What did I miss? What did I miss? Scrolling up and down through the chat trying to find it. For some reason, I don't see anything. I got another place I can look. Michael McAllister has contributed $20. He says, ASUS has yet to respond to me as to whether or not they will provide a BIOS update for my Ivy Bridge system to address the Spectre vulnerability. In the interest of security, should I save for a new build? No, this vulnerability is, as long as your Windows has been updated and your browser's been patched, you really don't have anything to worry about. Okay. This doesn't want to go in this way, so maybe we gotta go. Let's see. How does this go in? Don't get me wrong, Michael, I would love to build you a computer, but for the right reasons. I don't want to take advantage of your fears that the media has put in place there. Okay. And of course, once they get this whole thing sorted out, there'll be another one. There's always another vulnerability, another exploit. It'll never end. All right, we're going to put the 4 screws back in here. Yeah, best thing you can do is just make wise decisions when you're surfing the web. Am I in the wrong places? I put the screws in the wrong holes. Screws go in the holes furthest to the edge. There we go. There we go. That's better. Helps when you put the screws in the right holes. Okay. Of course, the Intel NUC does have a fan on it. It's very quiet, but it does have a fan. This Azul Inspire has no fan at all, so it's probably going to get a bit warmer than the NUC, I imagine, but it'll run perfectly silent. Not sure, you'd have to do some comparison shopping to determine, which one's the better value. I would imagine, Intel's not exactly known for bargain hunting. They do make a good product, though. All right, let's get the antennas out. And let's put the antennas on. Bloop. And bloop. Done. There you go. World's fastest computer build. Perfect for people with regular, ordinary computer needs. A lot of seniors, a lot of people do surfing, work from home, do some very light gaming. want something that's out of the way, perhaps something very portable, there you go. And now you can, unlike a laptop, you don't have to worry about batteries going bad. You don't have to worry about screen size. You can put any size screen you want on this. So here I've got the power cable and the power brick right here. There we go. And then what I need to do is push the camera back and get my monitor out, and we can fire this bad boy up and see how she runs. So let's put this back here. And we'll bring this back up and bring this back out. I think we got to go out a little more. I think we need to go out a little more. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. Right about there, I think. Yeah. Oh man, having that new tripod head is making my life so much better. Okay, so it looks like I've now cut my head off, top of my head. I do see people commenting about their privacy in the chat room, but if you were really worried about your privacy, you wouldn't be on the internet and you wouldn't own a cell phone. The idea that you seem to be fixated just on this one area of your privacy while you remain blind to thousands of other things that are spying on you, I find slightly humorous and a bit arrogant, ignorant, but that's just me. That's just me. All right, let's just move all this over here, and let's plug this into the back of the card. Yeah, people have their loyalty shopper cards they use. They know what you buy, how often you buy it, where you shop. Oh man, if you've got a Facebook page, I know who all your friends and family are, potentially what you had for dinner, what you've been doing lately. Yeah, the CIA has never had it so easy. People just voluntarily give that stuff out and then they complain about Windows 10 privacy. I do find it a bit funny. Okay, so here's the monitor, the old monitor you guys are used to seeing. It's an old Dell 2420L. You can't buy these anymore. There wasn't anything spectacular. I'm surprised how many times somebody will ask me, what's that monitor you're using? Like, it's just an old crappy Dell monitor. Okay, so I'm going to plug the HDMI port in there. And let's see, I need a keyboard and a mouse, so we're going to steal that from the streamer. Streamer. There we go. And I got my wireless dongle for the keyboard and mouse. This is the Jellycomb keyboard and mouse that I talked about in the past. And you know what? I'll just put this right up in the front. Why not? Let's just put it right up here. You see the light is red. That means the power is off. This will be its first boot, assuming there's an OS on it. I have no idea. Let's find out. Might have to put an OS on it. There's absolutely no sound coming out of it. It is dead silent. So I probably have to plug the monitor into power though, right? It's probably not going to work without that. So, gosh darn it. Darn it. I won't be able to see how fast it boots. Well, maybe it won't even boot at all. Let's find out. So Dell, that's the make of the monitor. Let's move this over a little bit. Oh yeah, it's got Windows already installed. That's nice. Let me come around so I can see what you guys see. Okay, that's Cortana talking, but I don't have speakers plugged in, so. Okay, United States, yes. US. Skip the keyboard, alternate layout. There's the Wi-Fi network. Let's go ahead and get connected onto the network here. And I'll stand right here. Doesn't that bum you out? All right, let's see if we get loaded up there. We do. We'll click next, so we're on the Wi-Fi. Milk Cap says, hi, Corey, you're my favorite YouTuber. Well, I'm Carrie, but I'll let Corey know that you said that. Thank you. don't even know my favorite YouTuber's name. Set up for personal use. Click next. I'm not going to sign in with a Microsoft account. We're going to click right down here where it says offline account. Are you sure you don't want to sign in with Microsoft? You hid the text really small. I had to find it. And then when I find it and I hit it, then you go, well, maybe you should really reconsider. No. I said no. Microsoft, no means no. Don't OS rape me anymore. All right, I'm going to put my name in there. Carrie. No password. I don't want Cortana. Go away. I turn all this off, 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 off. Accept. Ooh. Look at that. Almost done now. We just need to get a few more things polished up for you. Well, get a move on. Let's go. It's a brand new computer. Let's go. Got things to do. So there we have it. That's a pretty darn simple computer build. As far as computer builds go, I don't know how you could have it any easier than that. I don't know how you could have it any smaller than that. Obviously, you're not going to be doing any Grand Theft Auto on this or Far Cry, but as far as, you know, actually getting work done, as far as getting schoolwork, homework, like I say, light gaming, video streaming, HTPC, this will do it all. So if you're not a gamer, or if the games you play are more like RPG type games or not real heavily graphically intense, this will save you a lot of money, because those kind of games require a computer budget about 5 times more than what this costs, 4 to 5 times more. So it may be able to run some of the games at very, very low settings. It just depends on the game and the version of the game and the resolution of the game. But again, at very low settings, it probably could play a lot more games that I'm giving it credit for. But I would just rather say, look, if you're looking for a gaming machine other than Solitaire or Minesweeper, perhaps you should be looking at a full size, or, you know, a desktop computer that will accommodate a full size graphics card. All right, now we've got welcome to the best Windows ever. I remember when they told me that about every Windows they've ever released. And there we've got it. Let's take a look at some specs, shall we? Let's go to, I have a twisted idea, very twisted idea. Let me get back onto let me go to my network here. And let's bring up, let's see. I'm blocking the screen on purpose, guys. Let's bring up some benchmarks. Only because I'm a glutton for punishment. Let's install the Heaven benchmark and see what it does. Yeah. All right. I just still need to back this off a little bit, or maybe just bring it up just a little bit. There we go. I don't know why it's not loading. It should have loaded. Should have happened by now. How fast am I connected on my Wi-Fi? Let's see what speed we've got. It's connecting at 802.11n on my 2.4 gigahertz. I can never find that darn speed setting. Let's go back to the server. Oops. There it goes. Okay, we're going to install the Heaven benchmark. Next, 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 next. Pretty fast there, right? Finish. I'm curious though. If we go to this PC, it only sees the one drive. That's good. I wasn't sure if it had some internal memory, but apparently, if it does, we're not using it. So that's the NVMe drive right there. And then let's start the Heaven benchmark. And codecs you cannot. What? I might have double clicked on it. Wait, coding was not found. Reinstalling this program may fix the problem. What? Browser x86.exe. I don't know what that is. I don't know. All right, let's try something else. I see Brytech just joined us. Hey, Brytech, welcome in. I need a benchmark to run. Let's see, what else can I put on here? I really don't want to fix anything. I just want to run some benchmarks. If I have to figure out how to make the benchmark work, then I'm moving on to the next one. I have an old 3D mark we could put on there. At least be pretty. No, I don't want that. Here's a WinBench. That's old. Let's see. The Wi-Fi is feeling very slow to me. I'm not exactly sure what speed I'm connecting at here, but it's not good. Let's turn off the show people button. I don't want to show people. And I'm just waiting for the screen to move on away from my server. There it goes. Let's see if we can try this and see if it works. Brian is nursing a hangover. Well, congratulations, man. I didn't even know you were pregnant. Oh, that's how she got pregnant. Oh, that's how it happens. All right. We're getting there. We're getting there. This program or feature cannot start because it's not compatible with 64-bit versions of the window. Well, I guess that's an old benchmark I have laying around. Well, let's do this. Let's check the speed. Let's make sure that everything's running like it should. So let me bring up the utilities I always like to use, which is Crystal Disk Mark, Crystal Disk Info, and CPU Z. I have those on my server. Should be able to just bring those over here real quick. Utilities, freeware, Crystal Disk Mark, Crystal Disk Info, CPU Z, copy, close, paste. All right, we'll have that here in just a moment, and we'll be able to run that. I'm used to my Wi-Fi being much, much faster than whatever this is doing. And again, I'm not sure what speed we are connecting at here. And I know I always have a hard time finding this in Windows 10. But I know there's a place. Hardware properties show available networks. No, that's not what I want. Wi-Fi status. You're connected. At what speed am I connected? Windows, show connection properties. No, that's not it. Manage no networks. No. Network and internet. Wi-Fi. I always have a hard time finding that. I will figure it out one of these days. All right, let's try Crystal Disk. Let's do Crystal Disk Mark. Actually, no. Because we have a Samsung NVMe drive, we need to install the Samsung Magician software and make sure we have the Samsung driver. So go to samsung.com/magician. And that's going to bring up this page, and we're going to install that software, blah, 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 firmware update, performance benchmark. This is what the software does. Downloadable files right here, Magician software, that's what I want. We're going to run that as soon as it downloads. Yes. English. I can close this. I'm done with that. Next. Agree. Next, 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 next. Install. Finish. It's scanning the drive right now. It's pulling the firmware information, the number of hours on the drive, all of that stuff. It says the firmware is an old version. Let me just zoom in on this so you can see. Let's see. Gotta go this way. Zoom in a little more. Yeah. Don't mind me, I'm just talking to myself. Best conversation I've had all week. All right, so we've got an old version here. One of the great things about the Samsung software is this ability to update the firmware so easily. With the other manufacturers' drives, you could sometimes have to make custom boot disks, there's a bunch of risk and blah, blah, blah. And there's always a disclaimer, you know, you could lose your data, make sure you have it backed up. I never do. I mean, I always have my data backed up anyway, so it's not like I have to go and make a special backup just for that. The firmware has been downloaded and installed, and now we have to shut the computer down. And it's going to redetect the drive as though it was brand new again. So it's because the firmware has been changed, it'll say, oh, I found a new drive. All right, let's bring this back up. It will actually shut completely off. It should, because we actually want the BIOS to look again, to see the drive for the very first time all over again. So that light went red. That means the machine is off. Let's go ahead and turn it back on, and we can see how fast it boots up now. Given the boot up time, will actually be a little bit slower now because it's going to redetect the drive. Ooh, that was quick. Holy smokes, what was that, like 8 seconds? Holy moly. All right. There we go. Very good. I don't want this message, get rid of that. I always want to see all the taskbar items. Oh, I have to activate Windows for that to happen. Okay, never mind. All right, so bringing the software back up, it's a 250 gig Samsung 960 EVO. It's had 0.4 terabytes written on it in its whole life. It's now got the latest firmware installed. Rapid mode's not supported. NVMe drivers from Microsoft. I want the Samsung NVMe driver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Samsung website. And in this case, I'm going to go to, I know I'm blocking your view, I'm sorry, samsung.com/Samsung SSD. That's the site I'm going to be going to here. And I'll go look under Tools and Software. You can grab the Magician software here as well. Then driver, Samsung NVMe driver right here. And then there's a download guide. We don't need the instructions. We're just going to click Run, click Yes. It's already downloaded it. Click OK. We don't need the browser open. Let's close it. We don't need this open. Let's close it. All right, so now we're just going through the NVMe driver. We'll click Next. We'll accept the end user license agreement and hit Install. And then of course we're going to have to reboot again. So this time it doesn't require a power off. It does require a reboot so that driver could take over. You can't change a tire on a moving car, right? So we're pulling the car over, we're taking the tire off, putting the Samsung tire on, taking the Microsoft tire off, and then we're going to start it back up. Man, I can't get over how fast that boots. That is nice. Nice. Okay, now let's bring the Samsung software up. Okay, that looks good. We're on the NVMe driver of Samsung. Trim status is enabled. We can run a performance benchmark on this. This is Samsung's benchmark, so I prefer to run a third-party benchmark just to make sure I'm not getting fudged numbers because, you know, a manufacturer performance testing its own stuff. I'm skeptical, but let's compare them. I found it actually to be quite honest with Samsung's Magician software. A read speed of 3128 seems a little bit high. A write of 1514. Bearing in mind that a hard drive mechanical drive, you'll see anywhere from 80 to maybe 200 tops. With an SSD, you'll see about 550. And with NVMe, you see about 2,000 to 3,000 normally. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run the Crystal DiskMark software. And let's just run all the tests and see what that does. And while that's running, it takes a while to run, I will talk to you guys. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Yeah, Samsung software didn't lie, did it? Let me zoom in on that so you guys can see what I'm seeing. Those numbers are very impressive. That explains why it boots so fast. I just wish the Wi-Fi was faster. I am connected to the 2.4 gigahertz side of my router rather than the 5 gigahertz, which would go faster. But I'm looking through the chat right now, just seeing the conversations you guys are having. We've got about 590 people watching, so I guess a lot of people are not interested in the NFL game going on right now. I'm slightly interested, but I'm only really interested in the last 4 minutes of the game, if the score is close. I never really was into watching football or any sports on TV until I got HD, and then I went, wow, this actually looks really, really good. You see Dawn is in the chat. Hi, Dawn. Welcome into the chat. Always good to see you. She says, thanks again for sharing my build videos. Dawn, you keep making those build videos. I'll keep sharing them. You rock. Yeah, the write speeds on this are really good, aren't they? 1473 is nothing to sneeze at. The size of the drive is a bit small, but let's face it, it's a small computer. Although you could put a 2 terabyte NVMe in there if you wanted to spend $1,400 on your storage drive on your $400 computer. But hey, that's your business. I'd like to see what this mini PC could do with database programs. I bet with a database program, it'd probably be just as good as any desktop equivalent, I'm sure. Just a lot smaller, quieter. You can't upgrade as much. But on the other hand, you've got a lot less that can break. We're almost done with the test. There's 2 more write tests that remain to be done, as it's going to fill those zeros in on the lower right corner there. The right side is writing and the left side is the reading results. Of course, you could always, as pointed out in the chat there, you can always still install a 2.5-inch solid state or mechanical drive for, if you really wanted a lot of storage in there, and speed wasn't that big of a factor for your storage. Would you dare to leave this running 24/7? Absolutely, I would let this run 24/7. No reason why it can't. The CPU is going to auto throttle itself, and with the power settings, it'll barely sip power when it's not being used. It won't get. It'll actually. I predict it'll actually run pretty cool while it's turned on but not being used. Okay, that's it. That's our results right there. So you can see the read speeds all look good. Write speeds look good as well. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the camera back now since we got that out of the way. Pull this back a little. Whoop, other way, Carrie. No, too far. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so that's there. Let's take a look at CPU-Z and let's see what the specs are on this computer. This tells us we've got an Intel Core i5 7200U. It's a Kaby Lake. Max TDP is 15 watts. I love it. If you guys really, now that I've zoomed it out, let's zoom it back in again. Let's go this way. Go, gosh darn it, I always want to go the other way. Okay. I want you guys to be able to see these specs so I don't have to read them all out loud. Okay, so there's the CPU information, and then of course the caches on the CPU are all explained here. The main board, this is all explained here. Not sure if there's going to be any firmware update to this. Memory that we just installed. This is all the details of that memory. Of course, we also have the serial presence detect information of the RAM, which is a DDR4 2134. It shows that the memory is in slot 1. For some reason, it shows 4 slots, even though we only have 2. So clearly, CPU-Z is not identifying this properly. Graphics, of course, is built onto the CPU. Intel HD Graphics 620. Let's bench the CPU. And then what's our reference? I don't know. Well, I guess that doesn't give us a reference. We have to select a reference. Those are not good reference points. That's not a fair test. You know what? Let's bench it against a Ryzen 5. I'm just curious. Ooh. Not looking good for Intel there, is it? Let's bench it against a Ryzen 3 maybe? No? Core i5 7500K. That's a bit faster than what we've got now, but how does it compare? Yeah, right in the same line. How about a Core 2 Duo? How about that? Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah, that's all they have for reference. Okay, well, good to know. Good to know. So now it's just really a question of maybe benchmarks. And I'm not exactly sure which benchmarking software I should run. I don't know why the Heaven benchmark wouldn't run. Something was missing. The code execution cannot proceed. MSVCP 100 DLL. MSVCP 100 DLL missing. Heaven benchmark. Somebody's got to have a Google result on this. I seem to be missing that file for some reason. I guess I need both the 32 and the 64-bit versions of the C++ packs from Microsoft. So let me go and grab those. That's the 64-bit version there. Let's run that. And you also have to install the 32-bit version, which should be, ideally, oh, that's just a service pack update. Let me install that one. All right, will Heaven run now? Yes, it does run now. Okay, so let me close that out. Close all tabs. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with the Heaven benchmarks. Let's zoom in. The camera's going to look a bit crooked because I have to turn it, and when I turn it, obviously I'm not head on anymore. This is probably going to be painful, but should still be better than what it looks like on a potato. Let's go right there. Yeah, I wouldn't call that smooth, but it does play it. Yeah, it's laggy, but again, this is not a gaming computer. Does it have Thunderbolt? No, it doesn't have Thunderbolt. Got to press F9 to benchmark it. Okay, thank you for that tip. I thought you had to watch the demo first. So thank you for that tip. That's from Buzz Brescher of the chat room, educating me. You know what? It's not terrible. Again, if I was going to game, this would not be the machine I would buy. If a customer of mine wanted to game, this is not the machine I would recommend. But I would say, apart from gaming or specialty needs with regards to applications, I'd say this is fine for most computer users, most average ordinary folks. Whether you're in an office or it's a home PC, This is a really inexpensive way that you can do it yourself, have control of your RAM and have control of your storage, and have a fast computer that'll be faster than your neighbors. And it's interesting because a lot of you guys who watch my live feeds, you're just not regular, ordinary computer users. I would love for you to spend a day with me and go, answering the phones, listening to the questions that I'm asked and the problems I have to solve and what the people's needs are. And you'll find 90% of the time, a computer like this will meet the needs of all of those customers and then some. This will do gaming, don't get me wrong. It's just not going to do AAA titles and stuff like that. It's older games or games that aren't real super resource intensive are going to run fine on it. It'll be great for an HTPC. It'll stream 4K video at, they say, 60 frames a second. Yeah, you're not going to be playing Battlefront 2 on it. Although, actually, I think Battlefront actually runs on some pretty low specs, surprisingly. Hopefully this benchmark will be done soon and then we can take a look at the temps. Could you not attach an external graphics card? The external graphics card, if you could attach one, which I don't believe you can, would cost you more than the system. So it'd be like buying a $500 car and then putting a $10,000 audio stereo in it. Audio stereo? You know what I mean. See, that side of it's running just fine. There's no lag on that at all. It looks fine. So it depends on the game, depends on the resolution and settings of the game. There we go. So there's your Heaven benchmark results right there. Let me zoom it in a little bit, see if I can fix that focusing issue. Oops. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let me just pull this back again. Actually, I have to switch this over to the other screen. Boom. Then I need to get my keyboard and mouse plug back in over here. I stole it so I could take care of some chat room stuff. All right, let's put that back in there. Okay, so let's get out of this, get out, quit. And let's try, let's bring up, we're gonna go here. And let's bring up Prime 95 while we're at it. Okay, so here's HW monitor. We're going to bring that up. And we'll move that over here. And then we'll bring up Prime 95 and let's just have it work the heck out of the CPU. We'll just see how hot it gets. Okay, let me just zoom you back in now so you can see. There you go. I would say the performance of this computer is on par with a new machine that was built. You know, if you had a desktop computer that you spent about $1,500 on about 4 years ago for top of the line, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you would equivalently have this performance. It's actually very impressive performance, although it certainly doesn't help to have that NVMe drive. That's faster than most new computers you build today. And the graphics is really the only part where it's lagging a little bit. And like I said, for people that just are regular, ordinary computer users, which comprise more than 90% of computer owners, this will more than satisfy their needs of performance, as well as being very, very quiet because there's no fans. This thing is dead silent. There's no moving parts. It's going to be ultra reliable, or it should be. Seems to be hitting upwards of 87 degrees Celsius, which is hot, but as long as we're below 100, we're good to go. We should be fine. And that's maxing it out, which once again, I want to reiterate, 90% of computer users will never max out the CPU for more than a few seconds, you know, every so often throughout the day, throughout usage. It'll max out temporarily, and then as soon as it finishes its processing, it'll slow back down and cool back down based on the fact that the user is really the slowest part of the computer. We'll let it run a little bit. We'll see how hot it'll go. We're up to 88 so far. 88's been the hottest temperature. It's not there right now, but it's peaked so far at 88 across the 2 cores that it has. People want to see the task manager. I think I could bring that up. That might be something I can do. Not sure which screen you want to see it on, but there's the performance chart with the CPU there. Running at 3.09 gigahertz. Max speed, max temperature has been 90 so far. It's still climbing a little bit. We've got 10 degrees of headroom, and that's about it. Remember, this is rated at, 2.5, so it's I think this is a turbo boost, I think, at 3. Wouldn't all prolonged core temps over 80 degrees Celsius seriously diminish the lifespan of the CPU? I don't know of any user that I've ever met in over 25 years of being a technician that runs a computer processor at 100% for more than a few minutes a day during the time they use a computer. The only time it's ever really done is when you run benchmarks. That's why I think a lot of people are just benchmark stupid. It doesn't really matter what the benchmark says. What matters is, does it play the game you want to play? Does it boot fast enough for you? The only thing benchmarks really do is they give you a microscopic granulated number that's really not something a human being could on their own determine to compare against another microscopic granular number that another human being couldn't possibly determine on their own. So you could say mine is bigger than yours, mine is faster than yours. It's so barbaric and it's so sad, in my opinion, that we have not evolved past this. I'm somebody who's very practical, and I want the computer to do what the user needs it to do in the way the user needs it to do it. That's the only benchmark I care about. So running 100% on the CPU for this length of time, yes, it's not good for the CPU. And it's not even done under normal usage. So you guys are causing self-harm in these benchmarks just for bragging rights, or to make yourself sick to your stomach because your numbers aren't as big as you thought they would be, which has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not the computer performs to your needs. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. You know, if you have a computer that's a piece of junk, you can benchmark it all day long. It's still a piece of junk. And if you have a computer that's fast, you can benchmark it all day long and it's still going to be fast. It seems like the only thing benchmarks do for people is give them a reason to be upset. Remember, all unhappiness is caused by comparison. If we as human beings would stop comparing things, we would all be happier. Fact. Namaste. Sorry, I got a little Buddha on you. It'll wash off. So yeah, this is all about setting customer expectations. It's what's important to me when I do my reviews, is that we talk about, again, some of the reviews I saw on the Azul HTPC, where they were trying to game with it, they just really they didn't understand what the point of the computer was, and therefore they just said they don't recommend it. That's just ridiculously ignorant, in my opinion, closed-minded and inconsiderate. Because your needs are your needs alone. They're not mine or not anybody else's. And just because it doesn't meet your needs or your closed-mindedness with regards to what other things the computer could have possibly been designed to do, it really upset me. And that's why I did the Azul review to begin with, because I wanted it to be reviewed in how it was intended to be made. If you go out and you buy a Prius and you start running the quarter mile in it at the drag strip, you're not going to be impressing anybody. It's not the car for the job. So if all you do is drag race cars every day, all the time, and somebody says, here, why don't you try this Prius? And the first thing you do is take it to the drag strip, and you think, well, I don't see any point in this car. It's the slowest thing. This runs as fast as the car I had 30 years ago. That's not what it's designed for, and you're the idiot for trying to put it through a comparison test of something it wasn't engineered to do. So I want you to keep that in mind when you watch these YouTube reviews. A lot of people are very, very, for lack of a better word, they're kind of racist. Racist is a tough word, but as far as, PC master race, they're racist because they don't consider what it's like for other people's needs. They don't consider, and I don't say all of them, but it's often enough because look, anybody can create a YouTube video. You don't have to have any approval from anybody to do it. And you guys are coming here looking for knowledge, and I'm afraid a lot of the knowledge you're getting is poisoning your brain with wrong information. It's very distressing because It's very easy to teach somebody who doesn't know, and it's very difficult to teach somebody who knows wrong to unlearn and then teach them the right way. It makes my job very, very difficult. So I get upset about it. So let's take a look at the temps now. We're at 100 degrees Celsius, which is the ceiling. Well, it hit it. You'll see when it hits it, so this is our max right here. This is what we're currently doing. And you'll see it bounces back and forth between 100 and 95 because it's shutting cores down. And that's how quick the CPU cools off. It cools off that fast that then it turns the core back on and hits 100, turns one of the cores off, drops to 95, turns it back on, and so it's flipping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So Brian thinks I should show you how to roast a chicken. Ooh, that is a bit warm. Okay. Like I said, nobody that, again, as a technician, working with real customers with real computer problems, I've never run into a customer that runs a machine full out 100% on the cores. Only in benchmarking does it happen for longer than a couple minutes a day, total time of usage. This thing is warm. Let me get my infrared thermometer. Let's see how hot that is. It's not too hot to touch, but it certainly would keep your butt warm if you sat on it. Why would you sit on it? I don't know. Why wouldn't you? Love the internet. God, I love it. Okay, let's take a look and see what the temps are in this thing. Hey, Brian, do you like white meat or dark meat? Ooh, we got a little smell coming. Almost done. The outside is reading 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Do I need to put that in Celsius? How do I switch it? I don't even know. Yeah, 146, 147. It's right in that range. It's toasty. Again, no normal computer user would run a CPU flat out at 100% for more than a few minutes throughout an entire day. So this isn't really anything to worry about. If I were building a desktop for a customer, this would be unacceptable. But when we're talking about a machine like this, it would be curious to put the NUC through the same kind of test just to see where the NUC falls in, because the NUC does have a fan on it, although the NUC doesn't have an M.2 slot, so this will be faster in some ways and slower in another. Yeah, it's a little warm. So let's go ahead and shut this down now. Yeah, it's running at 2.94 right now, so it's slowed down a little bit. It's going to do that when it hits that high temp. It's protecting itself. You want it to do that, believe me. All right, let's stop this test. You watch how fast this cools off. As soon as I hit stop, boom. Watch this right here. Where did it go? Right here. We're at 74 degrees. Let's exit out of this. Let's close that. These CPUs cool off fast. What a lot of people don't tell you about liquid cooling, liquid takes a lot longer to cool off. So what ends up happening is you have a machine that runs cooler when it's on, but it runs hotter when it's off. In other words, say you've got an overclocked machine with a liquid cooler in there, and you get these nice cool temps of, let's call it 70 degrees Celsius. You shut the computer off, and I'm talking Intel now, but it doesn't matter. Whatever your temp is, you shut the computer off, it'll stay at 70 degrees for a much longer period of time because you've got a liquid cooler than if you had an air cooler. And I don't know how much that really impacts the reliability of the machine, but it's going to keep your CPU hotter for longer after the machine's been turned off. With an air cooler, it cools down almost instantly. We're already down to, where are we at? We're down in the 70 degree range, and we're quickly approaching the 60 degree Celsius. Looks like I missed a contribution here. Let me go back. Andre Hernandez has contributed $50 to the channel. Hey, thanks, Andre. I really appreciate that. That's very generous of you. Okay, so we're about ready to wrap this up. Where's my water? This is the Q&A part of the video. This is where you give me Q and I give you A. Does it have a heatsink? It's got a big heatsink in there. Absolutely, yes. It would have to. Andre says he's got to leave. He's got a sick kid. Sorry about that, Andre. But thanks for stopping in, and thanks, of course, for your continued support on the channel. I do appreciate that. Check the Wi-Fi speed. Michael McAllister said he's contributed again. Did that one get by me too? Sorry, Michael. Michael McAllister's contributed $2. He says, is the Azul Inspire BIOS updated? I didn't check. I checked the version that I had using CPU-Z, but I did not check the website. Let's take a look and see. It's a good question. Obviously, a BIOS update would help with cooling, potentially. These are sometimes things that are addressed in BIOS updates. Let's see, Azul Inspire BIOS update. Let's see what it says. Product support for Azul is azuletech.com. And then we've got the Inspire. That's what we've got right down here. We'll click that link. User manual, videos, product information. That's it. I don't see any option for a BIOS update. And this is pretty common for smaller manufacturers like this, where you just don't see that BIOS support unless it's something really, really critical. I really honestly wasn't expecting to find one. I was kind of hopeful. So with regards to like the Spectre or Meltdown fixes, things like that, they would probably have to release an update at some point. All I see are manuals, and then of course there's forums, but I don't see anything about a BIOS. And to access the forums, you've got to create an account. Looks like Bill Leatherland is leaving. Well, thanks for joining us, Bill. Always good to see you. I know it's about 8 hours later where he is. And Brytech is checking out. They're both in the same, both in England. Good night, guys. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, there's no BIOS to download, unfortunately. This is still pretty warm. This doesn't, Even though it's cooled down quite a bit, according to the screen, it feels the same to my hand. It still feels, it's not hot, but it's hotter than warm, but it's not too hot to, obviously, to keep my hand on it. This actually feels, the reason I mentioned you could sit on it, I have heated seats in the car, and the heated seats, when they get really, really hot, this is about how hot they get right here. Carrie, would you ever buy a Mac? I wouldn't even accept one that was given to me. Family J is asking about some specs. Family J, if you click on the description in the video, below the video, you'll see links to all the specs. It tells you all about the USB and Ethernet and Wi-Fi, et cetera, et cetera. I never did see Bluetooth on this though. Never, there's no Bluetooth icon on the taskbar, so it looks like it does not have Bluetooth. It looks like it's just Wi-Fi. What's the price? Price again in the video description, guys. Just click, please, please, for the love of all that is holy. Read the video description. Pricing, specifications, warranty, it's all right there for you anytime you want to read it. What do you think about the whole cryptocurrency mining situation? Okay, well, here's the deal with cryptocurrency. People are, there's a lot of people looking to make easy money, if you will, or they're convinced they will, and they're investing a lot of money into their computers to do cryptocurrency mining. And of course, that is just a temporary thing right now, because the main mining computer, I think it's like Ethereum, is using video card memory, because video card memory is so fast. If you think you're upset about how much a video card is, imagine how upset you would be if you were trying to do cryptocurrency mining and you needed graphics cards. It's going to be hard for you to mine enough to even recoup your cost. So it's just a temporary situation, guys. It's just temporary. And there'll be updates, I'm sure, to the process in how cryptocurrencies are mined to take the load away from the graphics card and move it into something else. You'll see. You'll see. It's just temporary. It's not a big deal. Let's see, Jay says, we used 2 Azul devices for a school district and they weren't all that stable, randomly shutting down. We had to use them for lunch boards and announcement boards. Yeah, well, I'd have to know more about them, Jay. If this is an actual mini PC, Azul was really known for making these little HTPCs using like Atom processors and stuff. This has a proper Core i3, i5, or i7, depending on the version. So I don't know that that it would work any better or any worse from you, but Azul's been in business for a number of years now, so it must not be too terrible. The Amazon page says it supports Bluetooth. You know, it might, I just didn't see, I'm making an assumption here on the fact that I didn't see a Bluetooth icon on the desktop, but or on the taskbar. Let me move the keyboard and mouse over here. Let's take a quick look and see if we can see Bluetooth in here, just to verify. What's our temps down to now? We're down to 62 now. So what a difference. Oh, it does have Bluetooth. It's right here. I just didn't see it. It's right there. So yes, it has Bluetooth. And where's my keyboard? I'm still curious where I find my Wi-Fi speed. So it's only connecting at 72.2 megabits per second. On my Wi-Fi, I get like 1.3 gigabits per second. Let me disconnect it from from the 2.4 gig side. Let's see if I can do this. Let's disconnect here. Oh gosh, I got to remember my network key for this. I don't remember it. Rats. Why is it not working? Okay, now we're connected on 5 gigahertz and we're at 433.3 megabytes per second. That's a lot better. I should have just did that to begin with. I always go with 2.4 because it's typically the first option that shows up. That's much better, much better. That's going to be a lot faster. Anyway, so getting back to the whole cryptocurrency thing, it's all very temporary. You give it a few months, 6 to 9 months, it'll all be in the past and it'll be something else you guys can complain about. But basically, it's just a matter of the software that's used for mining. It's pretty much, I think with Bitcoin, you used an ASICs processor. I think it's just Ethereum that's the one that's using video cards. There may be another one that's using it too, but they'll start changing the software over eventually because video cards are getting more and more expensive. But man, I'm going to tell you a little story. Let me just let you and I talk for a minute, okay? Let's get this off because it's ruining my lighting. All right, let's talk for a minute about mining. And this is just going to emphasize how dumb human beings are, okay? Speaking as a human being, I can say that. I'm not an anti-human being. But human beings in general are really, really dumb creatures who are so dumb they think they're smart. Human beings have a habit of repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, thinking, how could I have possibly known? Just go back a little ways to something called the California Gold Rush. Now, this is not the first example. It is certainly not the last example of human beings thinking they're going to strike it rich and investing everything they have to move to where the gold is and to start mining the gold. More than 95% of the people who gave up everything to go mining for gold made money. I'm sorry, didn't make money. They failed. They ended up, they probably found some, but nowhere near what the 5% found. And this is the part I want you to listen to very, very carefully. The only people who made money during the California Gold Rush were the people selling the mining supplies, the shovels, the tents. Think about what I'm telling you right now. Those people who are buying those graphics cards, they think they're all going to be getting rich. Probably 95% of them will not. The people selling the graphics cards, those are the people making the money. The people selling them the tools to do the mining, every one of those people will make money. 100% of them. Think about it. If I had stocked up on 1080 Ti graphics cards at $600 or $700 a piece last year, just bought, let's say, 10 of them. And I said to myself, you know what? These are going to go up in value because people are going to use them for cryptocurrency. I could sell them for twice what I paid for them. Brand new in a box, never opened. But who knew? The problem when you hold on to technology like that, technology is typically replaced relatively quickly and prices traditionally go down. So if you were to have made that risky investment of buying, I don't know, let's call it 10 980 Ti graphics cards, or the same thought, brand new in a box, and then without any warning, all of a sudden, NVIDIA releases the 1080. Those 980s you bought just cut themselves in half in value. This is the risk of investing. All investment has risk. The bigger the risk, the bigger the return, and the bigger the loss. If people want to go out there and they want to buy these graphics cards because they think they're going to be making millions of dollars cryptocurrency mining, I assure you it is a short-term fad because their money will run out. And the more they have to spend on the equipment, the more they have to make to even break even. So I wouldn't, it doesn't worry me. This is a natural spike, and it happens from time to time. It's not a big deal. The lesson here is you're not experiencing anything new or different in human behavior, in technology, in greed. It doesn't last. It never has. It's always just a temporary setback. If you want to call it a setback, it's like a rainy, you're in the middle of a storm and you think that storm's never going to end, but the storms always end sooner or later. And there'll be damage that has to be cleaned up afterwards, but it'll eventually, you just have to weather the storm, guys. That's all. It's not really a big deal. It really isn't. And I see a lot of people complaining about it who clearly have no intention of buying anyway. So that's the other thing. I've not run into a customer yet who said, well, I was going to buy the 1080 Ti, but now I'm not going to. I've never run into a customer yet. Now that may change, but so far everybody who's wanted to buy one has bought one. And none of this has slowed them down one bit. Price of RAM has gone up, it'll come back down too. Price of hard drives went up after the floods in Thailand a few years ago. If you remember that, everybody freaked out. I guess it's just a side effect of getting older is you feel like you're living Groundhog's Day, you know, like the movie Groundhog Day, where it's just same things happening over and over and over again. And it just gets a little bit sort of like, it's frustrating and it's boring. It's like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Here we go. And then I have to talk to the younger people who, you know, haven't seen the wheel go around as many times as I have. But you do have access to the internet and you have access to history. And you will see that this is very common and it's always temporary and it's nothing to get worked up about. Just find something else to occupy your time for a couple of months. Things will get better. So we'll see what happens with NVIDIA if they come out with another graphics card. That'll certainly make a change to things, you know, with regards to what card everybody wants. That's always been the thing everybody's talking about. You know, somebody left a comment. I want to share this with you. Someone left a comment on one of my videos that said, how come you built an X99 system that's 3 years old? This is a brand new system for your customer. Why would you say your customer 3-year-old system? Well, the system wasn't 3 years old. It was brand new. And it just shows the ignorance that if somebody thinks there's a difference between X299 and X99 with the CPU that the customer needed, there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than, like, you can think what you want to think. It doesn't bother me. But when you post patently false information that exposes just how much you don't know, I feel embarrassed for you. So if you guys, those of you who think an X299 chipset is superior to an X99 chipset, using the vast majority of CPUs, I think there's only 3 Intel CPUs that take advantage of an X299. Even though the X299 will work with all the other CPUs, it won't work or do anything any different than the X99. And then I have to come out here and have to talk about it, right? Because I'm trying to fight ignorance, and I don't think I'm winning. Everything is available to you with your keyboard and your mouse and your internet connection. So you can look and see what's required to take advantage of an X299. And what are your computing needs that would even utilize those features of the X299? I mean, are you going to put in 4 graphics cards? It has to be very, very extreme. Otherwise, You might as well just stay with X99 and save your money. So that is a little bit of frustration that I get to deal with on this side of the camera from some of the viewers out there who think they're superior, they think they're smart, and they expose publicly just how ignorant they are. In an attempt to publicly humiliate me, they make themselves look like fools. And I have to deal with this constantly. So for the most part, I've stopped responding to those people. I've started deleting their comments because they're poisoning the well. And I just really encourage you guys to do your research before you go correcting anybody. Do your research to fully understand anything that you may be jumping to conclusions about, unless you don't mind looking like a fool. That bothers me to look like a fool. I don't want to look like a fool. I mean, I make mistakes like anybody, right? But I'm not going to go out of my way to correct somebody about something where they're right and I'm completely wrong. Then I'm a bigger fool. So gotta love the internet. What keyboard and mouse is that? That's a Jellycomb keyboard mouse combo I bought on Amazon for about $35. I don't really care for the mouse, but I do like the keyboard. What's the status of the BitPhoenix build behind you? You're looking right at it. That's the status of it. Will Azul BIOS let me boot from USB? I would assume so. I don't know. I would assume you could. Hi, Carrie. I'm from the UK, visually impaired, but love your detail. Give me a shout out. Adib Ali. You got it, Adib. Everyone has trolls. Now, these aren't trolls. Trolls are people that come in to stir the pot. This is somebody who really believes they're doing the right thing and they're trying to help me. They're like saying, look, this poor guy ripped off his customer. His poor customer bought a system that's 3 years old. This guy's ripping people off. They think they're putting on a cape and they're being a hero. Their motivation, they don't think they're trolls. They think they're superheroes. The fact is that if they'd bothered to take some time to educate themselves, rather than find reasons to accuse people, they would be helping themselves. And that's what my videos are all about. It's about you being able to do things on your own and, you know, and not sit there and be the internet police. What's the cheapest computer I can build to only run videos on VLC player all day? Yeah, just go get something used off Craigslist. Is there any tech you would like to see in the next 5 years? I would like to see I would like to see more compatibility with connectors, like with the motherboard cases. I'd like to see just one connector for all the LEDs and switches. Just boom, put it on there. Eventually, we're going to see a connector for USB 3.1. I haven't seen any of those yet. Michael McAllister was asking, what are you getting on an internet speed test for Azul? You said it was slow. Well, my internet speed is fine. The internet is not affected by the speed. It's the data transfer rate between loading files, because I'm wireless to my server, my NAS, and the NAS isn't that fast to begin with. So basically, I was getting 72.2 megabits per second on the 2.4 gigahertz, and now I'm getting like 433 megabits on the 5 gigahertz antenna. So that's a lot better, but the internet speed is still my bottleneck regardless. And thank you for the contribution, Michael, who's contributed $5. Appreciate that. The problem I have with a lot of future tech is it seems to be making people dumber. It's almost, so when I was going to school, I'm going to sound like an old man. When I was going to school, they didn't let us use calculators in school. Calculators didn't even become an option until I think high school for me. So sometime in the early 1980s. And they were very expensive. And if you had a cool teacher, they'd say, look, show me your work, and if you can show me your work that you worked out the math problem, then I'll let you use a calculator. But you're not always going to have a calculator around you in the real world. This is what they told us in the early 1980s. When I was a kid growing up in Detroit in elementary school, we used to have drills where there was some worry that the Soviet Union would be launching missiles. And they would have all the kids exit the classrooms, line up against the walls of the hallway, and stick your head between your, sit down and then stick your head between your knees and kind of cover. It's how I was raised. I was raised to live in fear of the Soviet Union. And a lot of this comes back around now with North Korea and da-da-da-da. And anyway, so when we get back to the coming back around again side, obviously everybody's got a calculator on them now. You've got a computer that can make phone calls. We call it a smartphone, but it's not really a phone at all. It's just a computer that can make phone calls. And it has access to all the information you'd ever want to know in the world. And the reason why the teachers didn't want us to use the calculator is they were afraid we weren't going to understand how to solve the problems that the calculator did it for us. And what I'm finding the attitudes from my nieces and nephews is, I don't need to know this because the computer knows it. It's right here in my phone, so I don't have to memorize it. Anytime I want to know something, I just punch it in and I have my answer. And this may be sort of a generation gap. There's a bit of pride in knowing how to do something. There's a bit of pride in saying, if you drop me off on an island somewhere like on Survivor, I think I would be able to survive just fine. I think. The only way I tested this was in 2003 on my very first trip to Burning Man. It was my own little Survivor. I was dropped off. I got a ride from somebody. I shared a ride. They dropped me off and said, you're good for 9 days. See you later. So I had to live for 9 days in the desert in a tent with only supplies I brought with me. You can't keep food cold for 9 days in the desert. So I had some frozen hamburger and things like that. I had to cook the first 2 or 3 days. And after that, I was living off beef jerky and Doritos or, snack foods, things that didn't require preparation, cooking, or cleaning. And I found I wasn't very hungry. I brought a 12-pack of Coca-Cola, didn't drink 1 can of it. I was not in the mood. They told me to bring, I think, 3 gallons of water for each day. I think I brought 20 some odd gallons. I'm trying to remember how many gallons. Presumably 27 gallons of water. And they always tell you it's important you drink a lot when you're in the desert. I think I dumped out at the end of it all. I tried giving it away. I couldn't. It's too heavy to bring it back. So I ended up dumping out, I think, 15 gallons. I only used half of the water I brought. I don't know who these people are that drink that much water, but I think I drank a gallon a day, and I think I showered maybe 3 or 4 times when I was out there. We had a community shower. You had to bring the water, so that was the water I used. So without the showering, I would have even had more water left over. So way, way overkill on the water. And I never had to go into town for anything. I survived on my own 9 days in 115 degree days and 25, 30 degree nights. It was really, really cold at night, really, really hot in the day. And I was really proud of myself because I always felt like I could do it, No cell phone service was out there. You're really isolated in the desert. It really was a survivor scenario. And it was both one of the best experiences and one of the worst experiences because I didn't know anybody and I was very alone. But at the same time, it was sort of me against nature kind of thing. And there seems to be this concept that life is supposed to be easy. I don't know when this started, but life was never meant to be easy. It seems like something only human beings have decided, let kids grow up and be kids. Do you think a bunch of sea turtles are born and the mother sea turtle says, don't worry about getting eaten, just go play. You don't have to learn survival skills. That doesn't happen anywhere on the planet. You will get eaten. They don't give you a break because you're little. And then people say, well, that makes you, you're mean. I'm not mean, that's just nature. Life is survival, life is struggle. And it's a line from Rick and Morty I like from Mr. Meeseeks, life is pain. But when I see the types of comments coming from people who could very easily know the right answer if they would take 5 seconds or 10 seconds to actually use the little device they carry around before they open their mouth and spoke the wrong things. It upsets me because we didn't have that, right? So if we did it in the 80s, because we were misinformed. But if you do it, it's because you're too lazy to actually look up the information, and that's what upsets me. So I really miss the days when people had to know stuff, because then you didn't have to go and look these things up, you know? You knew it. And it's just a change of the generations. I'm sure it's progress. I'm not sure how, but I'm sure it's progress that we're letting machines do thinking for us. And we just tell the machine what we need at that moment and live our lives day to day until we're done. And I assume this will continue to get worse. So this is a very, very, very long answer to the question of what future tech would you like to see. I would like to see a reversal. I would like to see a return back to moving away from the tech. I would like to see, if nothing else, than a group of like-minded people who don't necessarily shun the technology. I'm not talking about, you know, the Amish, but understand when technology takes a step too far. When it starts impairing your ability to think as a human being, you no longer can have judgment. You no longer know simple things that are common knowledge to other people that are older than you, who lived in a different generation. I would like to see that, who knows, maybe the next generation will see all of these dumb adults and go, gosh, I don't want to be like them, and step away from some of this technology. I'm okay with autonomous cars. They're safer. You know, there's a lot of good from that tech. But I don't need my refrigerator connected to the internet. I don't need my thermostat connected to the internet. I don't need my locks on my house connected to the internet. You know, the best alarm system that you can buy for your home is a big dog. And that's the way it's always been. And there's simply no technology that's better than that. You can get all the grainy camera footage you want to try and identify a victim, to try and identify a thief or a burglar. But nothing is better than the blood left on the floor that contains the DNA of the person who wore the mask. You got a clear picture of a guy wearing a mask. You don't know who that is. But when my dog's teeth sinks into his skin and it leaves blood on the floor, we will know exactly who that is with over 99% accuracy. That's good technology. So, you know, I'm all about trying to find that balance. I don't think tech is good for the sake that it's tech. It's got to serve a purpose. When I was doing the videos for Newegg, they were all hot and bothered about VR. And I couldn't understand why, because it didn't seem to serve any purpose. It's just, you want to play pretend. Well, I played pretend when I was a kid. I don't need a VR unit to play pretend. I can do that and close my eyes, and I can imagine I'm somewhere. It's not a big deal. I don't need a unit to do it for me. So there's never been any killer app for the general public to justify VR. It's always been sort of this niche thing, and almost like 3D TV, you know, it comes and then it goes. If VR doesn't find a killer app, it'll be gone. You know, everybody was talking about the Xbox 360 Connect, how it, you know, the cameras would watch you. Where's that today? So just things to keep in mind. If you're spending your hard-earned money on this stuff, you know, if you buy diamonds or gold or platinum or precious metals, that generally is worth as much or more than what you paid for it. But when you go buy yourself an Xbox One or a PS4 or a 1080 Ti, you're just throwing money away, because it will just degrade in price, except maybe during short periods, if you're lucky or unlucky, where there are spikes where supply and demand offset, and you just happen to be at the right place at the right time to take advantage of that. But overall, buying a car is a huge waste of money. People that spend $60,000, $70,000 on a car to try to impress people, cars depreciate very, very quickly. You could buy a car much, much less, or, you know, if you don't even drive that much, using Uber or, you know, ride sharing, much cheaper. So people really do make a lot of poor investments, even though they work so hard to make their money. It's amazing how easily they just give it away and get almost nothing in return. You get a temporary return on it. So, you know, I guess all that's important is you're enjoying yourself, but ideally, you can find a way to merge those two things where you're investing in something that'll last much, much longer than the current cycle of tech where you have to constantly replace for something that'll keep you entertained, keep you busy, keep you happy, where you can afford some nicer things in life like traveling, seeing the world, just other things, So that's my that's my view on technology. I'm sort of an anti-tech tech. And I've always been that way. I will not have a Nest. I'm not going to have a Internet of Things thermostat or lock on my door. I'm just not going to have it. Never, never, never. I could see the benefit of like a Ring doorbell, a camera like that. And I saw they now have some cameras, security cameras, that you can screw into. It's a light bulb that functions as a light, but it also has a camera on it. So it's wireless. You don't have any wiring to do. Brilliant idea for tech. I like that. But there's nothing worse than running cabling. And remember, I've been doing this a long time. You run this 10 base 2 cabling. And then 2 years later, they go, oh, well, there's 10 megabit Ethernet. We need to pull all this cabling and replace it. So you replace it. And then like the next year, practically, it goes to 100. I don't remember how long it was, but it seemed like it was this much time between reinstalling that. And now you've got to upgrade your Cat 3 cable to Cat 5 to go to 100. And then the 100 then turned into gigabit, and then you had to replace certainly all the Cat 3, some of the Cat 5 within Cat 5e or Cat 6. And what's it going to be tomorrow for 10 gigabit? What's that? How many times do I have to run these darn cables? So to be able to take a light bulb that has a camera in it and put it in a fixture that's already there is simple, it's effective, it's easy. Simple and easy are the same thing. But that's a good use of the tech. And I'm all for faster speeds across the network, but gosh, having to redo it 4 times over the course of 20 years, 25 years, I guess it's not too terrible, but if you have a big business, it's very costly, and you're just running the exact same distances to the same places using different cables. And I've made a living from it. I shouldn't really complain that much about it, but when you talk to the people who created the internet, when you talk to people like Vince Cerf, he absolutely will not have an Internet of Things in his house. He knows the danger of it. He developed it. He developed the World Wide Web. He understands this is very insecure, and you'd be foolish to do it. And I agree with him. And guys like that, I think their opinion's more important to me. Michael McAllister says Internet of Things isn't too bad if you've got disabilities. Well, this is true as well. Technology certainly has come a long way for people with disabilities. And that's a different topic altogether. I'm not talking about specialty needs. I'm talking in general. And, the tech has also made it much easier to rip off people with disabilities too. There's a downside to it. But overall, people with disabilities haven't had it so good on this planet as they do today. In fact, human beings in general don't have it as good, at least in the developed nations, than they've had in the history of the planet. But with that also comes a downside. And, there's certain things I just don't ever want to give up doing. I don't want to give up turning my air conditioner on or off by hand. It's not a big deal for me to do it. I don't want to give it up. I don't want to be in an autonomous car. I think they're good for everybody else. I want to drive. I enjoy driving. It's something that brings me pleasure. It's a way I exercise my freedom. It's thrilling. The human body was not meant to be moving 80 miles an hour. It's like a roller coaster. I have a lot of fun with it. Most people, it seems these days, they just see a car as a necessary evil to get them from point A to point B. There's nothing thrilling or exciting about it. If I could be on a roller coaster every single day, I would go on one. I would love it. But since I can't, this will scare you. Since I can't be on a roller coaster every day, I can be in my car. And I can get those thrills from driving. And the challenges, people making mistakes or intentionally looking to cause harm on the road to slow you down or interfere with your ability to get to where you're going is a challenge, almost like a video game for me. I really do enjoy that challenge, and I enjoy, you know, one of the most stressful things for me is driving through a very big, crowded parking lot. So if you're driving down the aisle of the parking lot and there's all these cars parked on both sides of you, at any minute, one of those cars could start backing out and hit you. So when you're in a parking lot, a very busy, full parking lot, you've got to drive slow and you've got to be looking for people, kids, bicycles, skateboards, dogs, shopping carts, cars that are ready to pull out at any second. And because there's so many cars, it can be very difficult to see what's beyond the next car. And it's very stressful. And it's also very rewarding when I make it through that whole lane of cars. I'm looking for an empty spot to park. There isn't any. Nobody hit me. And, success. And I didn't hit anybody else. And at least here in Phoenix, it's a real challenge because people will often just get in their car, hit the reverse and back up. They don't even think to look behind them. Some people blow through the parking lot way too fast and then they can't react when something happens and it's too late. It's very much like a video game, except it's real and the consequences are real. And to that makes it much more rewarding. We go back to risk and reward, whether it's Bitcoin mining or, driving, as it were. I would never want to give that up to autonomous car. That's just something I just wouldn't want to do it. All right, hold on. I got to take this. I'll be right back. Hello. Hi. Don't say that. Mm-hmm. What? Yep. Okay, sorry about that. All right, guys. My wife doesn't like to get gas for the car. I don't know why she's opposed to it, but I always have to get gas. And she took the car, and she says the engine's dying on her, and she thinks something's wrong with the car. But it's just, it needs gas. So anyway, that's what that was all about. All right, my Fiji water is done, and I think I am too. So unless anybody's got any final questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. My thanks to the folks at Azulle for sending me the Azul Inspire. Again, it's available in i3, i5, and i7, as you've witnessed here. We've run it full bore, and it did reach its maximum, temp, whatever it was, 100 degrees Celsius. And then it starts shutting cores down. But again, under normal usage, nobody would ever run a core at 100%, both cores, for that period of time. So it's really unrealistic to ever think this would ever have a heat issue. It really wouldn't. Under normal load, like right now, it's been idling. It's probably around 60 degrees Celsius, which is a fine temperature to run at. It's going to peak out and run those cores at 100%. Normally, for a few seconds at a time through normal usage, maybe even a few minutes, but it would never do it for the length of time that we've done it here. So there's absolutely no issue of overheating. When it gets too hot, it starts to shut down cores, as you witnessed, and it self-protects. So everything's good with it. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this for a business or your average home user, as long as somebody doesn't need the ability to add things to it. They want to upgrade, to add cards. Obviously, there's no card slots in here to add anything to it. On the other hand, there's very little to break. There's no moving parts. It should last a very long time. And my thanks to the folks at Azulle, not only for sending me the unit to test, but for sending the NVMe and the RAM to test it with. And I got to box all this up and send it back to them. But I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this unit. I'm not exactly sure price-wise how it compares with an Intel NUC or the Gigabyte Bricks or the other components that are sold in this form factor. But knowing Azulle, it's going to be competitively priced. And I think it's important that you understand what to expect from a device before you invest your hard-earned money into it. And that's what I was hoping to accomplish here today. But clearly heat is not going to be a problem with this at all. So I saw some comments in the chat regarding it. And once again, people, remember what I talked about earlier, people who don't do their own research, people who just speak without any actual facts to back up what they're saying. That's what's happening in chat. It's very distracting and it's upsetting when I just spent all this time to prove that completely wrong, and they apparently didn't see that, and they've come in now to tell us all how dumb we all are. So anybody want to trade places with me? You want to come on this side of the camera and deal with this? But for everybody else, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Until then, bye for now.